In the crucible of World War II's Pacific theater, where empires clashed in the vast expanse of ocean and sky, the introduction of the F6F Hellcat in 1943 marked a seismic shift that would forever alter the course of aerial warfare and seal the fate of Japanese air power. Born from the industrial might of the United States, the Hellcat was not merely an aircraft, but a harbinger of a new era in combat, one where raw courage and individual valor bowed to the relentless efficiency of technology, tactics, and mass production. When the Hellcat first took flight, Japanese naval aviators, steeped in a samurai ethos that prized agility and heroism, scoffed at its heavy frame and seemingly cumbersome design, dismissing it as no match for their revered Mitsubishi Zero, a fighter that had ruled the Pacific skies with its unmatched maneuverability and long range since the war's opening salvos. Yet this underestimation would prove catastrophic, as the Hellcat, with its robust Pratt & Whitney engine, thick armor, and devastating array of 650 caliber machine guns, was engineered not for elegant duels, but for systematic destruction. Unlike the Zero, which sacrificed protection for lightness, the Hellcat was a fortress in the air, designed to absorb punishment and deliver overwhelming firepower. Its pilots, trained in the revolutionary energy-fighting doctrine, eschewed the Zero's tight-turning dogfights for high-altitude dives and slashing attacks, using speed and altitude as weapons to dictate the terms of engagement. This tactical shift, combined with the Hellcat's integration of cutting-edge shipboard radar, allowed American forces to detect Japanese aircraft from afar and coordinate ambushes with surgical precision, leaving the Zero's pilots reliant on visual spotting and individual initiative, hopelessly outmatched. The Hellcat's dominance was not just a matter of design, but a reflection of a broader clash of philosophies: Japan's romanticized warrior code versus America's pragmatic, industrialized approach to warfare. By 1944, the Hellcat had become a grim reaper in the Pacific, achieving a staggering kill ratio of 19:1, with 5,223 enemy aircraft destroyed for just 270 losses, a statistic that underscored its lethality and the futility of Japan's resistance. This was no mere technological triumph, it was a psychological and strategic demolition. Japanese pilots, once among the world's elite with hundreds of flight hours, were now dwindling in number and skill, crippled by fuel shortages and a training pipeline that had collapsed under the weight of attrition. By late 1944, Japan's air forces were fielding novices with as little as 40 hours of training, stripped of critical skills like gunnery and formation flying, while American pilots, battle-hardened and backed by a relentless supply chain, grew ever more proficient. The Hellcat's relentless efficiency drove Japanese aviators to a state of despair, so profound that military psychologists coined the term Hellcat psychosis to describe the paralyzing defeatism that gripped them. This despair birthed the kamikaze strategy, a desperate gambit that transformed skilled pilots into human-guided missiles. A grim acknowledgement that conventional air combat was no longer viable against the Hellcat's overwhelming superiority. Behind this aerial juggernaut stood the unparalleled might of American industry, which churned out over 12,000 Hellcats in just 30 months. A feat of mass production that Japan, with its limited resources and artisanal approach to manufacturing, could neither match nor counter. The Hellcat was a product of precision engineering, with interchangeable parts and 24/7 factory lines that symbolized the power of an industrial democracy mobilized for total war. Every bolt, every rivet, every radar set was a testament to a system that valued efficiency and scalability over individual craftsmanship, a system Japan was culturally and structurally unprepared to emulate. The Hellcat's success was not just in its kills, but in what it represented, a fusion of technology, tactics, and industrial capacity that rendered traditional notions of aerial combat obsolete. Where the Zero embodied the samurai's blade, light, precise, and deadly in skilled hands, the Hellcat was a sledgehammer built to endure and overpower through sheer force and coordination. This clash of philosophies extended beyond the cockpit to the very heart of the war. Japan's warrior culture, rooted in honor and sacrifice, struggled to adapt to a conflict where survival and teamwork trumped individual glory. American pilots, trained to preserve their lives and machines, leveraged the Hellcat's ruggedness to return from missions, learn, and fight again, while Japanese pilots, often lost in fiery defeats, could not replenish their ranks. The Hellcat's legacy was cemented in the reflections of those who fought on both sides. Japanese ace Saburo Sakai, a survivor of the Pacific Air War, later admitted that while the Zero was a superb fighter, the Hellcat was part of a superior weapon system, one that integrated radar, tactics, and industrial might into an unstoppable force. Post-war analyses by American and Japanese veterans alike pointed to the Hellcat as the decisive factor in the Pacific Air War, not because it was the fastest or most agile, but because it embodied a new reality of warfare where systems, not individuals, determined victory. The Hellcat's impact reverberated beyond the battlefield, reshaping naval aviation and proving that modern conflict favored those who could blend innovation with scale. By the war's end in 1945, the Hellcat had not only dismantled Japan's air forces but also shattered the myth of the Zero's invincibility, exposing the limitations of a strategy built on outdated traditions and inadequate resources. Its triumphs in battles like the Marianas Turkey Shoot, where hundreds of Japanese aircraft were obliterated in a single day, underscored the futility of Japan's air campaign. The Hellcat was more than a machine. It was the embodiment of a paradigm shift, a stark reminder that in the age of industrialized warfare, victory belonged to those who could harness technology, production, and doctrine into a cohesive, relentless force. In this way, the F6F Hellcat did not just win battles, it redefined warfare itself, ensuring the Allied victory in the Pacific and leaving a legacy that continues to inform the principles of modern military strategy.